On this episode of the Bronze Medalist podcast, we celebrate yet another custom holiday. Merry Chuckmas, everyone.
Today, Merry Chuckmas.
Merry Chuckmas. Today we're going to be talking about the 1988 album Leprosy by Death. We wish you a Merry Chuckmas. We wish you a Merry Chuckmas. We wish you a Merry Chuckmas and a brutal new year. Grim tidings we bring for you and your kin. Grim tidings for Chuckmas and a brutal new year. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Bronze Medalist podcast. I'm Kale.
And I'm Owen.
If you didn't know, it is Death Metal December. This is the month of the year where on the Bronze Medalist we talk exclusively about death metal, and this is a sub-holiday within Death Metal December, because Death Metal December, obviously all month long.
Sure.
But this week in particular, I say shall be Chuckmas. We shall perhaps every year speak on another Death album.
You know, this is actually the second Death album that I heard.
So did you hear their debut first?
No, I heard the album after this.
Okay.
Before I heard this album.
Spiritual Healing.
Yes.
Is what you heard after this. I guess I'm very excited to get into Chuckmas. If you follow our Facebook page, you know I've been posting Chuck Schuldiner memes all week long.
Appropriately enough.
Yeah, because it's Chuckmas. He's the new Santa Claus, I think. Looks very different from regular Santa Claus.
Very different. There's the picture of him with the puppy. That is the
yes, just as cheerful and jolly, perhaps, as Santa Claus, but a lot cooler looking. More leather jackets, that sort of thing.
What if Santa wore leather? That would be pretty awesome. You would think about it. I mean, he's got to race through the sky like that. You'd think he'd want something more protective.
Perhaps.
Like if he hits a bird, that soft plush red suit's not gonna.
That's not gonna help him very much. He needs some leather armor.
He should have some.
A little bit. Yeah, Santa should definitely wear some protective, some PPE. I think is in order.
PPE for Santa.
Although, let's be honest, Santa does not give two shits about OSHA regs. Okay, Santa doesn't care about OSHA regs.
What does PETA have to say about Santa? I mean,
they probably don't like him much either. He's enslaving reindeer, enslaving them. They're animals. But as we know from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the Rankin and Bass. Is it Rankin and Bass? No, it's not Rankin and Bass.
Rankin File? No.
Rankin the animation studio.
Oh yeah.
Is it Rankin and Bass? Yeah, from the Rankin and Bass, Rudolph and the Red-Nosed Reindeer. From the Rankin and Bass, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, we do know that Santa's reindeer are sentient creatures.
Right. Oh, I thought you were going to say jerks.
Well, they are also jerks, the majority of them.
Well, yeah.
And Santa's also, kind of an asshole, too.
Yeah, because he just let the whole thing go on.
He let the whole thing go on.
The poor kid grew up never getting to play any game. If you don't let the kid play games.
You don't let the kid play games. I'm surprised that Rudolph didn't, when they're like, Rudolph, we need your help. He didn't just say, you know what? Fuck off. That whole adventure he had was supposed to be about being independent.
Right.
And then when these toxic people in his life say that they need him, he doesn't just say, you know what? You don't deserve me.
Right.
You don't get this.
And plus, that's not how lights work.
Yeah, you can't see,
you can't put a beacon on a thing and have it be your headlight from a plane.
Fog lights usually only make the situation kind of worse.
Yeah, because they draw attention away from what you're supposed to be seeing.
Yeah, and you're flying through the air. It's just one big fog. The fog does not get thinner. Regular fog maybe gets a little bit thinner down on the ground, on ground level, which is why fog lights are aim low, so you can see the road better.
Right.
But that's not how cloud work. Nope, that ain't how cloud work.
That ain't how cloud work. And if somebody had been able to see something via the nose beacon, the nose light, they would have been split second away from hitting a mountain.
Yeah, absolutely. How high do you think Santa flies?
I don't know. Higher than K2?
Maybe. I mean, I feel like he wouldn't though. Like, I feel like, well, I mean, like
Not localized.
airline path is that height, though. Is about, because K2, Everest are about 30,000 feet, right?
Yeah.
So he could theoretically have impacted the side of a mountain.
Sure. He could have flown into a jet.
And you know what? Mm-hmm. At least in that context, Santa would have deserved it. The rest of those reindeer. Not even Rudolph's dad believed in him.
Yeah.
I hate that movie.
I can only imagine him going, "Fuck you!"
Fuck all of you. I'm out of here. That movie's got its own issues.
Yeah.
Some things that happened got in the new computer.
I like it.
Last week.
It's cool.
I mean,
it looks
it's the
different
same
than the
one.
other new one.
It is actually the same. It's just that the RGB isn't lit up because I think it's disconnected, and I haven't delved in there to reconnect it because I really don't care. It hasn't.
It's a light show.
Yeah, it's basically just a light show. I really don't care as long as the thing works, which it has. So I'm not gonna actually say anything because I don't want to jinx it. So it's fine.
Yeah. Wait, hey, what could go wrong?
Don't say that either. Don't say that either. Other things that happened, started playing a new video game called Subnautica.
Oh, yeah. He's been telling me all about it.
Because I hate myself. Most of you probably don't know this. I have a fairly strong fear of the deep ocean and open water. I do not like that idea. And that's what the whole game is. You crash landed on an alien planet with really big sea monsters, and you got to make stuff and survive. That fear aside, it's pretty fun.
You got it for PC?
Yeah. That's why my PC's being so loud in the background. It's because it's going, wow, whew, that game. That's tough to run, I tell you what. Rendering all that high fidelity underwater scenes, that ain't easy, bud.
No, it's something to behold, but it takes a lot of chugging.
Takes a lot of chugging. My motherboard's getting so hot.
Oh man, it's damp.
I got a cool. I hope it's not damp.
Well, it's all sweaty. You got a sweaty motherboard.
You don't want that. That would be pretty. It is
wouldn't it
water
cool it down?
cooled. It is. I mean, it is water cooled, which is the basic idea, but that is a self-contained unit.
Sure, it doesn't leak. It doesn't spray.
You don't. Yeah, you don't want that. That's generally bad for computers.
Yeah.
When that sort of thing happens.
If your computer's getting too hot, you get a spray bottle.
Yeah, get a spray bottle. Just spritz it off.
Uh-huh.
Set it in his little kiddie pool like it's a dog in the summer. He's got his little kiddie pool. Can put his feet in there. No, you don't want that.
No, don't do that.
I've got the next 2 days off.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't think that I was going to get them off. Like I put them down, but it was just kind of like, if you can.
Whatever.
And I didn't know till Monday that I actually got them.
Yeah, you and I both had the same days off.
Yeah, so we're just having fun with that. Raising a glass to that.
Raising a glass. Here you go.
Cheers. So we've got another mystery brown liquid here. Well, it's a mystery to me.
Mystery to you. I know what it is because I bought it.
Well, that definitely smells like whiskey. Let's see. Okay. So it's kind of neutral. Nothing really like the nose isn't really giving me anything.
Right. Should tell you it's not a whiskey.
Oh. Okay. But it is brown. Is this rum? Okay, this is. I don't drink rum very often, which is why I didn't.
You didn't catch that right away.
Yeah. Okay, now the spice is hitting me from when I. Yeah, that's okay. That's cinnamony. It's kind of cinnamony.
There's some cinnamon in there.
Okay.
Cinnamon, some cardamom, some.
Let's see. Well, I mean, the only rum that I'm super familiar with is Captain Morgan.
Right, and it is not that.
It is not Captain Morgan. What other rums could it be? The bottle or the bag that you had there did not look like it could contain a Kraken bottle.
It does not. You're right.
So correct. It's not Kraken. What other spiced rum? Is Parrot Bay? That's a spiced rum? Is that a type of spiced rum?
I think there's a Parrot Bay spiced rum.
I give up. What is it?
Sailor Jerry.
I don't listen to rum. Rum talks to me. It's like, Kale, can't you hear the sea calling to you? And I'm like, no, I can't.
No, sorry.
Can't you hear the pirate's life calling to you? It's like, no, I can't. So Sailor Jerry. Yeah, I'm not very familiar with most spiced rums, but I like this. Where's this made? Is this made anywhere tropical fancy, or is it just in American rum?
I believe it's made in Paramus, New Jersey.
Paramus, New Jersey. I want to find out where it's actually made.
Does it not say right on there?
Well, it says Collins built his reputation tattooing in World War II, Hawaii, Honolulu's brawling Hotel Street District, where master blah, 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 blah. Where is it made? Where is it bottled? Made, come on. SailorJerry.com. It does not say. It doesn't. It would say imported if it was imported from another country.
It's
so
not. Well, I mean, obviously the guy is in Hawaii, so that's not. So
maybe Hawaii. I mean, it's got a grass skirt ukulele girl on the front with some tasteful lace covering her boobies.
Yeah.
Covering the nipples of her boobies.
Cute cleavage though. And she looks like a tattoo.
Well, yeah, because the guy was a tattoo artist.
Yeah, it's Edison, New Jersey. I wasn't far off.
Seriously? Okay. Brewed and bottled in Edison, New Jersey. Okay. It's not bad. I don't mind that. I don't mind it. I'm also not really a rum guy, so I don't have a reference.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have a reference for how good rum is. I was kind of thinking earlier today, it's like, what if he brings eggnog?
Oh, I didn't think about bringing eggnog.
Eggnog for Chuckmas. Eggnog for Chuckmas.
Should have.
You could have. I don't quite like the idea. I haven't had eggnog.
You've never had eggnog? Oh,
I have
should
not.
have known that.
Yeah.
I'd have definitely brought the nog.
See, the thing that bothers me about eggnog is like when someone was making it.
Yeah.
I feel like what went through their mind was, you know what alcohol needs?
Raw eggs.
More protein. So you can get blitzed while you're bulking. I really want to get fucked up while I'm
getting swole.
Getting swole. Let's put some eggs in this booze. Because that's what everything
and
needs.
Sugar.
And sugar. And is there milk in eggnog?
There's nog in there.
Nog. Nutmeg. Is there a nutmeg?
Yeah, you got to put nutmeg on your nog.
Nutmeg on your nog. All right. What about nog egg on your nuts? No.
No, that
was fucking dumb.
Did you not think that one through before you said it was?
No, I thought it through, but only for a little while. I have what I like to call a slow wit. It's not a dim wit, but it just works slowly.
It's not a rapier wit.
Yeah.
It's more of a felt-tipped rapier wit.
Or perhaps a warhammer wit.
A warhammer. It's blunt.
It's blunt and it's slow.
It's hard to wield.
If video games are to be believed. We're not going to get into my knowledge of medieval weaponry just yet.
Kale, tell us all about medieval weaponry.
Oh, I will, but first... First, we have to talk about Death.
Okay.
Now, Death is perhaps the most legendary death metal band of all time. If you've listened to extreme metal of any sort, every band that you listen to probably owes a great deal of their sound to Death.
Mm-hmm.
Their first album, their debut album, which is Scream Bloody Gore.
Yeah.
Fantastic title, by the way. That first album has been considered by most people to be the first death metal album. There are a couple that came before it from bands that would later be called death metal, but what I was reading earlier is some music historians consider those albums to be more of a transition between thrash and death metal.
Sure.
Whereas Scream Bloody Gore, you listen to that and it's like, that's death metal. That is death metal right there. So I guess I didn't quite look. Is the name death metal directly derived from the name of the band?
Some would say yes.
Okay. That's the easiest answer.
Yeah.
I'll just go with that one. That's the easiest answer to me. So yeah, they were from Orlando, Florida, and sort of established Florida as the home of American death metal. And it's been that way for quite some time.
That and upstate New York.
Weirdly. Upstate New York. So yeah, the album that we're talking about today is Leprosy, which is their second album. Came out in 1988.
30 years ago.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to that time with you, OJ.
Okay.
What were you doing in 1988?
In 1988, I was living just off of Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines.
Okay, cool. Was this one of the albums that you got, from a buddy that had a magazine subscription? Or did this come later?
This came later. I didn't get this until after it'd been out for a couple of years. And in fact, I was introduced to their third album before I was introduced to their second.
And when was that? When did death come into your life?
That would have been about 1990 or 91.
Okay, so not too much later.
Right, not too much.
1990 is when the next album, which is Spiritual Healing.
Yeah. Which
is a wonderful name for a death metal record. That is when Spiritual Healing came out, was 1990, so that would make sense.
The title track is about evangelists.
Yeah. We'll talk more about Chuck Schuldiner himself a little bit later. It is Chuckmas after all.
It is Chuckmas.
We got to give some lip service to the man himself because he was a pretty cool dude. Is sort of important in there.
Yes, because he did pass away.
He did pass away, unfortunately, from a tumor on his spinal column, I believe.
On the top, yeah.
Up by his brainstem.
Mm-hmm. There's pituitary.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, so that is when death came into your life, was around 1990.
Mm-hmm.
What did you had you listened to much death metal before that? Or I suppose this was kind of when death metal really was death metal a thing? Were people talking about it and saying, this death metal? Or was this sort of your very first exposure to even the idea of music kind of like this?
It was, I'd already been listening to thrash metal and other kinds of metal for, forever. Since I was in junior high.
Yeah.
At this point, I was a junior in high school, and I got the album that came after this one, and I went,
got Spiritual Healing.
What is this?
It was so different.
Happening? Yeah.
At that
point,
point,
listening to right now, and then I went out and I got this one. And I'm like, oh my god,
this shit rocks.
As you would say,
this shit slaps. This shit slaps, bro. All right. So I'm glad that so that was pretty immediate for you. Wow, this is great. Where did you go from there in death metal? Did you what bands did you expand into from there?
I expanded to Morbid Angel.
Okay.
I think I got their either first or second album after that. Oh, what was it's skipping my brain at the moment.
There's some Possessed. I don't know. I'm running out of early death metal bands.
Now my brain is spacing it. All the different things. Oh, actually, Napalm Death. I think I picked up.
Yeah, Napalm Death, kind of death grind. That wasn't a thing just yet.
No,
that is a thing. You can call bands death grind now, but
not at the time.
They transition from grindcore into death, or there was sort of that around that time period where grindcore just kind of sounded like death metal.
It was the same thing. There wasn't really a distinction.
Yeah, you listen to, some people call Realm of Chaos by Bolt Thrower a grindcore record, and I listen to that and I'm like, this really sounds a lot more like a death metal record to me.
Right.
Especially the vocals. Very, very low guttural vocals on that one, which weren't particularly common at the time. You listen to this one, and I wouldn't call any of the vocals on Leprosy guttural. They're not even deep. They're growls, but they're not the deep, low rumbling growls that we're more familiar with in the death metal of today.
But that's because this was early on, before that had really been
before that
thing.
Became the de facto, this is how you sing a death metal song. I think the first one that really went with the super low gutturals was, we talked about it on the podcast, Jaron and I, that last year for Death Metal December, was Effigy of the Forgotten.
Effigy of the Forgotten.
Yeah, Effigy of the Forgotten from Suffocation was one of the first we can do really low guttural roars, and George Fisher has always kind of had that in Cannibal Corpse.
Sure.
Speaking of Cannibal Corpse, I haven't kept up on that story.
Oh, the story
as far as what happened.
His house
with,
burned down.
Yeah.
And he went and assaulted his neighbors or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with that exactly. What's been going on with Pat recently?
Is there more to Pat's story?
I don't know. I haven't checked that out to see if there's any new developments in Pat's story. If he's confessed to anything or something like that. I imagine the band has released a statement at this point. How could you not release a statement about what happened, especially when you're about to go on tour with Slayer? It's them, Slayer, Lamb of God, and I forgot it again. I always forget the other band that's with them.
The fourth band?
The fourth band.
Is it Poison?
No, it's not Poison. Is it Bon Jovi?
Is it Bon Jovi?
Is it John Bon Jovi? No, I don't recall. But yeah, I imagine the band has released an official statement. I'll probably feel stupid after this.
Can you imagine the looks on their faces when they bailed him out?
Oh God, did they? Did you read? Did they bail him out?
You would assume they did. You have to
Yeah.
assume that somebody came and showed up, shaking their head.
Come on, Pat. That was my impression of George Fisher's speaking voice. He does have an extremely raspy speaking voice because I think he's done quite a bit of damage to his vocal cords over the years. At any rate, we're not talking about Cannibal Corpse this week.
No, we're talking about death. It's
Talking about
Chuckmas.
death. It's Chuckmas. Are you listening?
What was the first death album that you heard?
This was the first one that I've listened to all the way through.
Really?
I've had a little bit of exposure here and there to death, but this is one of the first times where I was like, I'm gonna, listen to this. Where I sat down with purpose and said, I'm gonna check out death. This was really one of the first times, and I wasn't disappointed. I actually dig this. There's been a fair amount of times where I've said, I'm gonna sit down and really listen to this classic album from some genre, and I get kind of halfway through it and go, is it over yet? And kind of the fun thing about Leprosy is you don't really have a moment where you say, is it over yet? Because it's an extremely short album. At least it felt like it was very short when I was listening. It's 38:37.
Yeah, which is fairly short.
40, yeah, it's fairly short. 40 minutes is kind of I think 50 is more typical for a lot of death metal records. 50 is about the mark. So it is a little short. It's not as short as Rain and Blood.
No, which is 23 minutes.
Yeah.
But back in the day, there was one thing. I wonder if this was ever on purpose. A lot of music was traded not. I bought this album, you should listen to it. It was, I made you a copy of this album, you should listen to it. And therefore you wanted to keep everything under 45 minutes.
Okay.
I wonder if that was...
So you wouldn't have to have any extra...
Right, you wouldn't miss anything. I wonder if that was ever the mindset that this stuff is going to be pirated, we want to be good to the pirates.
Yeah. Maybe.
You would think no, because, well, on one hand, because that's their livelihood.
Yeah.
That's how they make their money. On the other hand...
I feel like shorter is probably easier depending upon the format. Because at this point, I imagine this album was primarily released on cassette.
Right.
I imagine in '88. So that, I guess, how long can a cassette tape be?
Well, a cassette
a
tape...
typical size cassette tape.
A typical cassette tape that you buy from the store, it's a blank tape.
Yeah.
It's 90 minutes.
90 minutes. Okay.
It's 45 aside.
45 aside. All right. So
you have two of your favorite bands on a cassette.
On one cassette. So I think it would make sense then maybe to have just one side on that cassette, and then you don't have to turn it. It's the same thing if they were still doing vinyl. Sort of the same thing.
If they were still doing vinyl.
They probably were at this point, but like
oh yeah,
when you make that, then you don't have to make two discs.
Right.
It's just one double-sided disc instead of having to make a two-disc album.
Right. With cassettes, you could really put as much tape as you want to. They could fit in
there. That you can stuff inside of there, whereas you're more limited in size with 33 1/3 vinyl records. So yeah, what are some highlights for you on this album? Because for me, it's like I have trouble picking a favorite. I do like Pull the Plug a little bit. Just just because that has a very
has a groove to it almost. Yeah,
and it has a very clear call to action in it. Which, as a person who where part of his job is writing ads, I appreciate a clear call to action. It's like, oh, this is what they want me to do. I appreciated that. But what are the standouts for you as somebody that has had this album for a long time?
I love the title track, the lead-in track.
Yep, that is a good one.
See what else is on this one. Oh, Let It Die is a good song.
Or Left to Die.
Let It Die.
Let It Die. That's probably a song.
It is.
What band is Let It
Die? Foo Fighters. Anyway.
Okay. Very different band.
Very different. Choke on It's a fun song.
Yep. Yeah, it's the thing that impresses me about this album is I can very much tell how much people have ripped off Chuck Schuldiner riffs.
Right.
Like it's so apparent. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today was there was a Reddit post about a month ago, I believe, where someone talked about there's a particular riff off of, I believe, their last album. I don't remember what song it was from.
Their final album.
Their final album, yeah. I think they said like an E minor scale or something like that. But essentially how it goes, and if you are listening to me doing a poor imitation of that, you're probably thinking, oh, that sounds like the opening riff to the Avenged Sevenfold song Unholy Confessions. And you're right. And it's also a riff that has been used
over
by
and over
about 80 different bands. It's just, and to be fair, it is a fairly common like scale or progression or I don't know anything about music theory, but it's a fairly common thing that you'd want to do. It's a cool sounding riff. It's kind of pumps you up. That riff alone has been ripped off so many times. There was one band that came before Death that had used a similar riff before, but I think that one was a little bit sort of the prototype of that riff, and I don't know if Chuck was familiar with that or not, but
the Guess Who, it was
the Guess Who.
Yeah, was it an AC/DC?
I don't know. There was one.
I thought you were going to tell me what band it was.
No, I don't remember what band it was. I honestly don't remember. I should have pulled up the Reddit thread beforehand, but it was fascinating to see how many different bands have used that riff. And it was a lot of metalcore bands that I've listened to. It's like, oh, wow, yeah, that riff is in that Parkway Drive song. Oh, yeah, that riff is in that I Killed the Prom Queen song. Oh, wow, that riff is in that As I Lay Dying song. It's been used so many times. And I think it's a tribute to the genius of Chuck Schuldiner because he writes good shit. So do we want to talk about Chuck?
Well, of course.
Yeah, so let's talk about Chuck. It's Chuckmas. Merry Chuckmas, everyone. So Chuck Schuldiner was the lead singer and lead guitarist of Death through the entirety of the band's existence. I was reading about him yesterday and just about like his beliefs.
He was a philosopher.
Yeah, he was a bit of a philosopher. Yeah. And the thing about him is like, you think of death metal vocalists or death metal guys, and you think of, kind of negative people, and he's sort of the epitome of the rejection of that stereotype, which I think is really most metalheads don't fit into that stereotype that people think they do. Most people who listen to death metal aren't super morbid and depressed and whatnot.
They get it.
I
get morbid depression. I understand it, but that's not the crux of my
that's not
personality.
What they're pursuing, and that's not the type of personality they're pursuing either. Right. And Chuck is sort of the epitome of that.
Or epitome, as I've heard
the
say.
Epitome. Like he said, I should pull up his Wikipedia page just to quote this specifically. So he once described himself as a lover of life, friendship, and animals.
That is so awesome.
And that's amazing. He's quoted as saying, I would like to live forever if it was possible. Wouldn't we all, Chuck? Wouldn't we all?
Wouldn't we all?
He commonly spoke out against artists who were, quote, out of control, who had garnered negative attention to the death metal scene. Which, yes, absolutely. It's kind of the same thing with black metal. A few psychopaths kind of spoil the pot. He openly condemned and disavowed stereotypes of metal musicians as being harmful to animals, people, or being anti-life, because he's a metal musician and he loves all of those things. Yeah. When they asked him about his afterlife, he just said, I don't know. He did say, however, this is a little morbid, but he believes that the life that we're living is hell, and that demons are people. But he also said this is also heaven.
So he was thinking we were living in heaven and hell simultaneously.
Yeah, that this place is both heaven and hell, and I don't. There's a name for that. It's been a long time since I took a philosophy class.
Weren't you in college just like a couple of years ago?
It's a long time for me. Okay. By ratio.
By ratio standard.
It's been long. It's a long time for me.
Whereas your 2 years is my 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
His parents were Jewish. He didn't go through any formal religious training, though. In a particular documentary, somebody asked him whether or not Satanism was a part of his music, and he just said no. He said, not at all. I really don't want to involve any type of religious theme in our music. I think that's more of a personal thing. Yeah, I'm not a Satanist, and I definitely don't put that into our music on purpose. I was really young when the band first started out. I was never really into writing satanic lyrics at all, personally. We did write gore lyrics, but that was more kind of like tongue-in-cheek, horror movie type level, which is most of the death metal scene at that time.
Yeah, and even now.
Yeah, especially now. Like, it's death metal, I've always thought of as being primarily, at least when you think of sort of generic, straight-up death metal, it's mostly like a horror movie in a song.
Sure.
It's, slasher, gory lyrics, that sort of thing. The Satanism thing sort of gets conflated from black metal for the most part, and also the imagery from Slayer.
Did you ever hear that story that Black Sabbath told, where they were at a hotel room somewhere and some fans found them wearing robes and had black candles, and I guess they all called each other's hotel rooms and said, "What do we do?" And so they all went out, sang "Happy Birthday" to them, and blew out the candles.
Ozzy Osbourne. Was this during the Ozzy period or the Dio period?
It was Ozzy period.
All right. I was going to say, because Dio was legitimately a Satanist, but he was a cool Satanist. Because there's a difference between, a very extremely big difference between Levain Satanism and the type of Satanism, like, say, that someone like Euronymous peddled. Like, I was reading about Euronymous about a month ago, and like he was a theistic Satanist, where he believed in Satan as a figure, whereas Levain Satanists generally don't believe that an actual theistic Satan exists. He's just a character from literature that they find to be inspiring and interesting as a figure of independence and self-gratification, essentially, which is what they're all about.
Well,
that's what their whole shtick is. They do also believe in magic and all that sort of other stuff, though, but that's fine. Everybody can do what everybody gets to do what you will. That was more of one of the ones that came before Satanism in the 50s. Do what thy will. There was I watched. It was on the most recent season of Lore. That was the last episode. I watched that. I don't remember what the name was. I almost said Themyscira. That's the island from Wonder Woman. Oh, what the hell! Last week we were doing so good.
We were doing so well. This week we can't brain.
Yeah, this week we can't brain. Sorry.
I think it was because I had the day off today.
Yeah,
and I
had kind of a crazy day at work.
Really?
Because I spent my morning doing my clearance spots, and I did it a couple days in advance. Normally I just do it one in advance, and I did the rest of the week so other people didn't have to do it because I didn't want other people to have to do it.
And they all came in?
They all came. They were all in, and I did my premieres and a whole bunch of other stuff today. Just this is work jargon for you listeners.
Just so you know,
you don't really understand it.
No,
maybe
it doesn't actually make sense.
It's a lot of data entry and downloading stuff and putting bits of audio together. But then, right when I get back from lunch, I remember that I hadn't done my charts that morning to figure out what new songs to add. And then we had
because for the record, by the way, he is the music director at a country station.
I'm the music director at a new pop country station. So I had forgotten to do that because I was busy earlier in the morning. I had done some other spots in the morning too, and it there was a spot that I thought was going to be really simple that ended up needing a revision. But yeah, so I had kind of a crazy day and got home and I was like, I'm going to play my video game about sea monsters. It's starting to get to the point where it is a little relaxing because I can see normally if there is a big sea monster around, I'll hear it and know, okay, I should leave because I don't have any weapons to fight them yet.
Okay. Yeah, but you will?
Hopefully. There's, I don't know if there's any. The only weapon I know of that you can directly fight them with is there's an exosuit, like a pressure suit that you can get, and it has a driller arm on it. And you can use that to fight them. There are torpedo modules, but those mostly seem to fire decoys, and there's a gas one, but I don't know if you can kill with those.
So you can't fart them to death.
Yeah, I can't. As far as I know, I can't fart them to death. The Leviathan I've encountered so far is known as a Reaper, and they're fucking terrifying. And there's more. So that's
But
fun.
wait, there's more.
So yeah, that's how I relax when I get home from work now. And so yeah, this has all just been an apology for how
terrible this is going.
how terrible this is going for tonight.
Well, I just
It
can't
happens.
remember things. We're trying to remember things, and for some reason, it's just not
It's
popping
just not
in.
happening.
It's not happening.
We're professionals. So some more things about Chuck Schuldiner. He was against hard drugs. He's been quoted as saying, "I've tripped several times. That's all because I don't like hard drugs. And my only drugs are alcohol and grass."
That's it.
Yeah, that's
really all you need.
Yeah, I would agree.
All you need is grass.
All you
Yeah,
need
da-da-da-da.
is weed. So Chuck became ill originally in 1999. He was experiencing harsh pain in his upper neck.
Yeah.
And that turned out, he thought it was a pinched nerve, and it technically was a pinched nerve.
But it was being pinched by a tumor.
Yeah, the nerve was being pinched by a tumor. He got it removed, or he was diagnosed on his birthday in
Happy birthday,
1999.
Chuck.
Yeah, happy birthday, Chuck. He was diagnosed with high-grade pontine glioma. I think I'm saying that right. It's a little far away. Yeah, glioma, which is a type of brain cancer that invades your brain stem, and started undergoing radiation therapy. Radiation therapy went well. He apparently by late 99, he was on the way to recovery. He underwent surgery early in the year 2000 to remove what was left, and the operation was considered a success. But then in May of 2001, the cancer had returned. And at that time, a bunch of other people in the death metal community had sort of come together to help pay
this
for
is
his
sweet.
surgery.
This is awesome.
Yeah, this is sort of a beautiful thing. Before and after he died, just how much people came together to support him. Because even today, you don't make a lot of money playing death metal.
No.
I don't know how much Corpse Grinder's worth, but like he's the lead singer of a huge death metal band, the biggest death metal band in the world, and I highly doubt he makes all that much more than
Think
you know
he's
your
pulling down
average
6 figures?
suburban dad. I'm not sure. Well, and part of the thing is how much does it cost to be in their band? Because like they might make a bunch of money on tour, but they have to pay for all the sort of all this other stuff.
There's a lot of overhead on tour.
There's a lot of overhead. So especially once you get bigger and you can't just be like, all right, we're going to take the van out and sleep in the van and do that when you're not going to do that when you're 47 or however old Corpse Grinder is. You don't want to sleep in the van with 5 other dudes when you've got a wife and kids at home and all that sort of other stuff. So there's a lot of overhead for touring there, and it was certainly much worse back in the late 90s and early 2000s when death metal was even less popular than it is today.
Sure.
And so people came together to help pay for that original surgery. He became sick again in May 2001, apparently unable to afford the first surgery that he needed. And a press release was issued, and tons of people got together to help pay for this. And the thing is Chuck had taken out insurance, but because this was
A pre-existing condition.
it was a pre-existing condition. This was pre the Affordable Care Act. However else you feel about the Affordable Care Act, I think being denied help because you have a pre-existing condition is kind of shitty. I understand there are reasons why a lot of insurance companies don't want to have to do that.
Sure.
I get it, because somebody can just take, oh, you'll give me free money. And I get it. But sometimes I personally believe that compassion is ethics. That goes against that for me. I believe that compassion is ethics, and that is really kind of the opposite. So at any rate, a lot of artists got together during the summer of 2001 and auctioned off personal items.
Wow.
Some of these artists include Kid Rock, Korn, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, all bands that are far, far more popular than Death ever was, got together in support of Chuck Schuldiner. Trivium was just starting out at that time. Matt Heafy, who who's the vocalist, had played part of a benefit show that was just local bands getting together to support Chuck Schuldiner. He had received chemotherapy, but there was a lot of harsh side effects, and his condition worsened throughout the year 2001, and he eventually got pneumonia. And by December 13th, it had gotten bad enough, and he passed away. And apparently MTV had stated that artists including Dave Grohl, Mike Patton, Max Cavalera, King Diamond, Vili Velo, Trey Azagthoth, Glenn Benton, Jason Newsted, Corey Taylor, and of course all the members of Death had attended his memorial service. And that's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. You know you're a celebrity.
To have all of those people, like, and especially, like, Chuck Schuldiner, I think, was very well known to anybody that was, you know, listening to heavier music at the time and was in rock music. I wouldn't say Death was ever a mainstream band, but you've got people that were absolutely in mainstream bands there. You've got Dave Grohl and you've got Mike Patton. And like, I think probably Faith No More was probably at like towards its peak of popularity at that point.
Well, I don't think Mike Patton was in Faith No More anymore at that point.
Okay, he had already left.
Yeah,
I suppose that was more like the early '90s.
Yeah, that was early to mid '90s. And
I need to get more familiar with Faith No More, but like Mike Patton has has done some really big shit. And Dave Grohl obviously has done some really big shit too. I don't know how popular Foo Fighters was at that time, because that was...
Well, he was in a band before Foo Fighters, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. This little band called...
Narava?
I think Valhalla, something like that. Being really happy and at peace. Which is a terrible name for a band.
It is.
I think the guy had a great life, founded a genre of music. Mm-hmm. Not just, he was in a really popular band in this genre of music. He founded a genre, essentially.
Right, like I was saying, if he had decided to change and play like sing-song kids playground music at some point, that's what death metal would be. Then.
Yeah.
I mean, because that was his thing.
If they were doing that under the name Death, that is what death metal would be.
If he demanded that they add flutes... Death metal now has flutes in it.
Yeah, would have flutes and that sort of thing. Like scream bloody gore is what defined the sound of death metal going forward from that point. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's just a fantastic story of Chuck Schuldiner and his life. And interestingly enough, his family members have always said that they enjoyed his music, not just like, we support him and we like that he's doing something creative. No, they have straight up said, we like what he did. We enjoy his music, which I think is very special.
That is special.
It's one thing to have the support of your family when you're making something weird and crazy and extreme, but then for them to also say, yeah, we like it. Like, that's pretty awesome. I like that as well. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about Chuck. Great guy. Merry Chuckmas, everybody.
Didn't know him personally.
I didn't know him personally, but I feel like I know enough about him now to say that he was a great guy. So cheers, Chuck.
Cheers, Chuck.
It is kind of sad for me, being a young fan of extreme music, that I am never going to see Death perform live. You're very far away from your microphone.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was getting all relaxed there.
Yeah. How dare you? This is my home. You are not allowed to relax.
You will be uptight and uncomfortable at every given moment.
Yes. But yeah, it's kind of, it's a little disappointing that I'm never going to get to see Death.
It's just a weird thing to say.
Yeah. I'm never going to get to see the band Death.
Oh, you will see Death.
Yeah. It happens to us all.
It comes for us all.
Death comes for us all. I'm a ghost from Skyrim. Oh. Because they say that in Skyrim.
Yeah, they do.
Did you know that?
I'm a ghost.
Oh. So
I don't remember them saying that at all.
They do say that.
Okay.
They say death comes for us all.
Yes, they do say that.
So yeah, that is kind of closing out our discussion of leprosy and death in general.
The thing about leprosy.
Interesting thing about leprosy, the disease. it is curable these days.
Well, yeah, now
It is
antibiotics.
Yeah, just relatively simple, long treatment, but it's like 6 months of antibiotics and you're good. We went. Now I think there's reported something like 192,000. I can't remember if it was deaths or cases a year.
Probably
worldwide.
cases.
Deaths in the U.S. is none. There's still like a couple hundred cases reported every year. Interestingly, you can get leprosy from handling armadillos.
Mm-hmm. Want to be careful next time you're handling an armadillo.
Yeah. If anybody out there is an armadillo wrangler or is an aspiring armadillo wrangler,
Be careful.
keep that in mind. Wear gloves. Wear gloves.
Otherwise, you might get leprosy.
Yeah, wear gloves and wash your hands. It's important. You don't want to get leprosy.
If you're a koala handler, you might get syphilis.
That is true also. You might get syphilis if you're handling a koala, if it pees on you. Or just if you're I remember there was a bunch of jokes years ago when was it? I can't remember if it was One Direction or the Jonas Brothers.
Sure.
They're the same fucking thing, except some of them are brothers. Anyway, one of those groups was down in Australia and a koala pissed on them, and everyone was like, "What if he got syphilis?"
Did he?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think he did. If he did, it was not exposed. Is syphilis treatable?
Now I think it is.
Is it just
I believe
like,
it
you
is
just need
now.
penicillin, don't you?
It might be one of those. What's the one that is it gonorrhea you have forever?
Well,
Or is
herpes you have forever.
Herpes. That's it. It's herpes you have forever.
Yeah. What?
You can just control it.
Yeah, it's
Syphilis, I believe, is
flare-ups.
treatable. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Didn't Hitler have syphilis?
That's the rumor, but I don't know.
This is a dumb discussion. This is the
Anywho.
part of the podcast about STDs. So
Technically, leprosy could be an STD. I mean,
it could be.
You could get
I
it that
did
way.
also learn that it is not actually all that communicable.
Sure.
Like you obviously can get it from other people, but it is not like highly infectious as once was thought.
Right.
Although, being around somebody with active leprosy long enough, you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, Robert the Bruce, famously one of the first king of Scotland after the Wars of Independence.
Sure.
He got leprosy from his father. If you've watched Braveheart,
You'd know this.
well, they don't say, oh, Robert the Bruce also died of leprosy, but they do show his dad, having leprosy and dying of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. That was the part of the podcast about actual leprosy.
All right.
So next week,
Yeah.
after the Christmas season, I tried to do a dolphin squeal and I couldn't do it. That's dumb. So next week, there we go. Next week, we are going to be listening to From Mars to Sirius by Gojira. And I'm very excited for this. I got into this album and this band over the summer, and I have enjoyed listening to them immensely.
Right, because I feel like when I first brought them up, you didn't even realize they were French.
Yeah, I didn't know they were French. I had heard of them, and I
Yeah.
knew they were really heavy. I just didn't know that they were French. I didn't know what any of their stuff was about. I hadn't listened to them. And then I had subscribed to the Metal Memes page on Reddit, and they made a joke about flying whales. And so I was like, that's kind of a funny
What's
title.
that
I'll listen to
about?
this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, this is amazing. So I'm very excited to talk about this. Some people might consider, I think Gojira in general, I will definitely consider, or not consider, I would definitely understand people not considering Gojira a death metal band, but I think From Mars to Sirius definitely has enough songs on it that you can say, yeah, I'd call that death metal to qualify to be in Death Metal December, which is why I put it in there. I'm excited that we're going to be talking about
I
it
also am
next week.
excited. This is
I'm-
one of those rare things where it's a band you like and a band I like.
Yeah, that we've both listened to and are familiar with.
Yeah, independently.
So one thing that I'm going to do to make things a bit spicier
Spicy.
is an idea that I had inspired by another podcast called Till Death Do Us Blart.
Okay.
Where last year one of the hosts, Griffin McElroy,
Yeah.
listened to Dark Side of the Moon synced up with Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. And so I am going to be listening to From Mars to Sirius synced up with Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about why I chose that movie and the general experience of that
Next week.
next week. So stay tuned.
Same bat time.
Same bat time. Same bat
channel.
podcast. Same bat website. Same bat iTunes. All right. So, yeah. Tune in next week for the conclusion of Death Metal December. It'll be after the Christmas season. We'll have plenty to talk about, Christmas gifts.
Kind of want to join you on that.
You kind of want to watch.
I kind of want to watch.
Well, we've got time off, so if you want to come by, and I can just put it on the screen.
All right.
If you want to, absolutely.
No taking.
We can do this together. All right. So, with that said, if you enjoy this complete shit show that this was today. Jesus Christ. I'm going to have my work cut out for me editing this.
Oh, it'll be fine. It'll be down to 23 minutes. It'll be rain and blood.
So if you enjoy our ramblings and uhs and ums and I don't remember, then you can check us out on our social media platforms and share our posts with your friends. Share our Chuckmas memes. Share, obviously, the posts with the podcast so people can listen to them and download. That's helpful.
That's a big deal.
You can do this on all the social medias that we're on. We're on Facebook.
All the social medias.
Not all of the social medias, but all the ones we're on.
Right.
So we're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We don't really post all that much to Instagram. We're on Twitter. I think that's the easiest one. You can obviously just share direct links to our Libsyn page, to our iTunes store page. So that's all easy. The wonders of technology. Do it.
And remember, send us money. We'll talk about you.
Yeah, we can talk about you if you send us money.
We keep putting this out there, and nobody keeps taking us up on it.
Yeah, my sister took us up on it once.
I want this to be a thing.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday. We keep pushing it enough. All right, here's $1. Talk about me. My name is Larry.
God, you stop talking about it. Oh, somebody's like, I'll give you $500 to never talk about this again. Something like that. With that said, thank you very much for listening to this, I guess, special episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast.
Would this be a special episode?
A special episode, maybe. Sure. I'll call it something else. I don't know. We didn't really talk about Christmas, but we did talk about another holiday.
We did.
So, Merry Chuckmas to all.
Shit.
You fucked it up. Merry Chuckmas to all, and to all, a good night.
All right.
Congratulations.